the whole room.
Yeah, I was waiting for your call.
But now we're live, but it's okay. I didn't officially get to the part about as you guys know, we do record these meetings. These are an official public meeting because we often have a forum of council members here, and I appreciate the council members who come and you know are part of the conversation. So I'll start off by introducing them. So we are following the rules. Councilmember Kelly Ramirez, thank you for being here. Councilmember Dion Rocco and his daughter Elizabeth, thank you for being here. They're always here. Councilmember Terrence Fugazzi and his wife Nancy, thank you for being here. I also have City Administrator Matt Morley is here on my right in the white shirt, and Stefan Mercer, who helped set this meeting up. Thanks to Stefan for being here this morning. As I talked about today, I wrote the spotlight last month about working together for the state of Gilroy. So the idea today is to talk about some of the driver safety, bike safety, pedestrian safety in Gilroy. And part of that includes cooperation not only with City Hall, but LTD, Gilroy Unified School District, hopefully, and Santa Clara County Public Health Department. And we have a guest from Santa Clara County Public Health Department, Michelle Wixler, who's also a resident of Gilroy, so it's perfect that you're here. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you're here because you'll definitely be helpful in this conversation and hearing feedback from the community. So as I mentioned, as I wrote about in the spotlight, you need a chair. Okay, cool. Yeah, no problem. I think there's some chairs. And don't be afraid to pull one up if you guys want to sit together. I just need single chairs. But don't be afraid to rearrange chairs anywhere you want. Yeah, you got it. And then I was brewing more coffee as well. If you don't like the pod coffee, we'll have that ready in a moment. What I wrote about in the spotlight last month, as I said, is safer Gilroy roads, whether you're biking or driving or walking. And I want to touch on some topics that we're doing in Gilroy that I hope opens up the conversation to have about this topic. So there's some things that Gilroy is doing that we're doing. There's a program that we call Gilroy Move Safely. This is a program where Gilroy Police Department, Gilroy City Hall, Public Health Department are collaborating together for programs and education for youth in our community, especially when it comes to bicycle safety. So that's one of the things that we're doing. Gilroy also, there's a program that's held by the CHP that Gilroy residents are able to do. This is for drivers possibly 65 and over. That it's a free program for reminding drivers 65 and over some safer ways to travel. I need to get my father in that. I was here today to hear that. But coming up on 86 this month, and this is a perfect program for someone like my father, because we want him to be active in the community. This is how he thrives. But this is definitely a course for my father. So perhaps others as well. So keep your eye open for this program administered through the CHP. They often hold classes right at the Gilroy Library with postings at the Gilroy Library. Other things that we're doing to keep the council has done recently to hopefully make it a safer city is we passed some city code to reduce the driver speed limit within the school zones from either 20 down to either 20 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour. That will be determined by, I believe, the size of the roads and things like that in the zone that it's already in. But I think we're still on path to have all of the new speed limits posted within our school zones by the time school starts next week. Okay? So I believe at this point that is limited to our public schools, and that we'll be exploring ideas to be able to do that with private schools as well.
Right.
Yeah. To develop opportunities for people to ride their bikes in areas that are not on the side of the road. Gilroy is in the middle of a Parks Rec assessment, and we're also coming up on a trail master plan. Now we'll give an opportunity for this community to have input on where we can have a bike paths, not just for biking, but for walking around this community. One of them that is on path to being under construction soon, I believe. I'm looking at that for some acknowledgement, is the Lions Creek Trail. That is the one that will go from Kern Avenue, right, so we go all the way down Kern Avenue, past Mantelli, and then there will be an extension of a pathway that's already there that goes all the way to almost Church Street. And there'll be an extension that will take you almost all the way, will take you right in front of Christopher High School. And part of that, Lions Creek Trail ties into the stoplight at Santa Teresa and Day Road. I think all of that is, does that have any conjunction?
Yes, all at the same time.
Yeah, for those of you who live on the northwest side, you know all about some of the challenges at Santa Teresa and Day Road, Christopher High, especially during school hours, when school starts and school gets out. So, that's on track for happening. Well, can you give an idea about
We should see construction in the springtime.
springtime?
Mhm.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably not lastly, but I'm certain that the conversation about e-bikes will come up today. That's okay. Somebody asked me, is it okay to talk about e-bikes? Of course it is, because e-bikes are consistently something that this community comes back to. I hear a lot about it in the mayor inbox. I know council members do as well. The challenges that come along with e-bikes. What I wrote about with e-bikes is that, hey, e-bikes are a great opportunity for young people to move around the city, but they also cause great concerns. And it's not just in Gilroy, it's all over the Bay Area. In fact, the Cities Association, right? City Association is a body that there's representatives from every council in the county of Santa Clara. Councilmember Ramirez is our member who attends those meetings. And this week, our own police chief, Brandon Sanchez, will be presenting about the challenges and the opportunities for being safer for advancement of e-bikes. He'll be presenting at that meeting this Thursday night. So we're doing our best to engage. The e-bikes is a giant challenge everywhere, not just Gilroy, not just Santa Clara County, but everywhere. For me, this is another example of governmental regulation often finding itself chasing consumer products. Right? It's not just e-bikes, but it happens happening in technology everywhere, including e-bikes. We always seem to be chasing it. And but I'm looking forward to the conversation because, you know, I do get emails a lot, and I think other council members do. We get emails from the community saying Gilroy PD has to stop e-bikes or right, which would be a total enforcement, right? We would be enforcing something that probably 50% of the population is following the rules. And so now I hear from the community sometimes saying, stop all e-bikes. So that's a conversation that we should have. On the other hand, I hear from some folks that say e-bikes, it's the obligation of Gilroy PD to teach everybody in this community how to ride an e-bike correctly. And that's just not, these are some of the emails that I get. That's just not something that I believe our council believes, and our police chief just walked in. Thank you for being here. Is that something that we have the resources to do, or even the responsibility to do? And this is where I think we can have a good conversation. There are, you know, just like our law enforcement and police department doesn't teach people how to drive, but they do have to enforce the rules when they don't drive correctly. They're also in the position of not being completely responsible for teaching people how to ride a bicycle, but they are in the position of enforcing the rules when they don't ride a bicycle or e-bike correctly. So that doesn't mean that we don't do engagement. It doesn't mean that we don't do educational and outreach, but we have to strike a balance of what our resources are and what are the responsibilities of members of the community. Well, that was a long intro for me, so thank you. Thank you. There wasn't much community engagement, so I'll open the floor to what I just touched on. Yeah, Diana.
So are there any requirements by the DMV to ride e-bikes? Yes.
Yeah. All right, Chief Sanchez. You're up. It's the perfect timing.
Oh, I was just wondering, what are the DMV laws that affect e-bikes, like for motorcycles, you have to have a certain.
So the easiest way to explain it is an e-bike has pedals, it's considered a bicycle.
Chief,
So,
can you come down the
Yeah.
middle
sorry,
so everyone can hear?
if it has pedals, it's still considered a bicycle. It has some still restrictions, they have to wear certain kinds of helmets depending on the speed it goes. If it doesn't have pedals, then it's considered a motorcycle, and they do have to have an M1 endorsement. With another level of helmet restrictions as well. So there are some differences in e-bikes, so.
If I can add too,
Yeah.
there's age differences too. There's
Yes.
3 types of e-bikes. So it's type 1, type 2, type 3. Anything that has throttle is like automatically a type 3, and it automatically requires you to be 16 or older in order to ride it. So many of the people that you see riding on the streets that are younger people who are riding these BMX style e-bikes with throttles on them, many of them are just de facto not legal to ride those e-bikes.
And
And
they
on
have,
trails, for instance, you're not allowed to ride type 3s on trails. Well, so there are a lot of different requirements.
and they have to follow the same rules of the road, stop signs. We all know most of them are not doing, but that is the requirement.
Councilmember Ramirez has a question or comment.
Well, there's also a lot of, pieces of legislature, being proposed to address this and, different types of, requirements for registration of bikes or, motor vehicles and things like that. So the state, the mayor talked about, cities association regionally looking at this, but the state is also looking at it, as well, and there are things that are going through the process of becoming law, so.
Yeah, on a positive note, we get a lot of them. Please take them away.
Yeah.
And the parents, so far, every one of them, I think, says, keep it, we're not getting it back,
Ah,
so.
Yeah, because usually by the point that PD impounds it, they've had multiple interactions and recommended by PD, schools.
Right, so that's interesting. This case, everybody catch the concept of that. So Councilmember Bracco and his daughter run their towing company, and they are getting calls from PD at some point in time to impound bikes, e-bikes, correctly? And what they're saying is that, typically, PD has already had multiple interactions with these individuals, and at some point they impound it. And then what they're saying is that parents are saying, keep the bike. This is hard on our family, it's not working out. Right, so that's interesting.
Or it's cheaper to buy another one.
No, it's the punishment.
Yeah.
When the parents call, they're like, well, he didn't listen, so he doesn't get. That's the punishment side.
I think there's a lot of confusion too, especially with parents, because of, and this is something that is, the state is looking at, is, everything is called an e-bike, right? This is an e-bike, this is an e-bike, when in fact, to Councilmember Fagazi's point, there are several different levels, and they're not all e-bikes. So, the way they're being marketed as well, parents are like, well, my kid wanted an e-bike and this is the e-bike he wanted and it goes 50 miles an hour or whatever, it doesn't have pedals.
Yeah, so what is that?
And you
There's
make-
pedal assist, there's pedal assist.
All
and then-
e-bikes have pedals. If
Yeah.
they don't have pedals, they're not really e-bikes.
Yeah.
They're actually electric motorcycles
There you
with
go.
fire endorsement.
Yeah.
And within e-bikes, you have the class 1, 2, and 3, which has to do with speed and equipment. And class 3 equipment is throttle, that you have a throttle, which most of these do. If they're only pedal assist, they can be 1, 2, or 3, but you can't have a throttle and be a class 2 or a class 1.
Yeah. That's what makes it so confusing for the public to understand. Rebecca, now go, Marie.
So, I missed it, but I'm a levy, which I not regulation. If it has pedal, it's okay. They're all okay, they have pedal.
In a bike lane or in a trail? Bike
Levy.
lane?
Levy,
And the levy, correct. You don't want the,
That's a huge question.
Yeah, it gets tricky, because if bicycles are allowed on the trail. And when it comes to the vehicle code, which is what we use to kind of govern, what we can do. When you're talking about off road or off path, off what they call a street. The rules are slightly different, but if a bicycle is allowed on the levee, then certain types of e-bikes can be depending on the speed at which they.
I've seen them, and I've almost been hit by them, I'm not motorized or electrified, but I ride. Good old hell, and, I don't know what to do, it seems like not being enforced.
Yeah, it's tough, because there's so many of them and there's so little of us.
That's it, but I'll get to you, Roland, and I'll get to you, but I'd like to make a comment on that, but that's what's so challenging is, so let's say you have a pedal assist bike on a levee. Legally, it's okay that they're there, because it's pedal assist, right? But it's the speed,
Yeah.
right? And now this goes back to what I'm trying to say, as a community, we have to watch out for each other. No different than, there are bicycle riders, especially people on road bikes, that flop down levee pathways that could cause a similar problem, right? So then we're back to, where are the resources now for our Gilroy Police Department to be patrolling bike paths for speeds on bikes? Sounds good. Well, what do we do? Well, what I see recently, Denver, California, passed an ordinance of no e-bikes allowed in any part in the city, right? Probably something that the community would like to see, but then we're right back to as council members, what resources do we have to enforce those rules? Extremely tough, yeah.
I understand it, but I just wanna say, I would love to ride my bike more on the street, but I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
So I go on the left.
Yeah.
I have to go around many times, too,
Sure.
and I understand why that, I go on, but that, you know, I feel like it's a safe place.
So, yeah, I'll go Ron, then we go back to.
Well, this
Then that-
issue is not, this is an issue that almost every city, almost every community in California is worried about, talking about. Other communities are actually making laws about it right now. And I would suggest that, to train these kids, I think I'd vote for Matt and Stefan.
Thanks, Ron.
Let me go to the back and then I'll go to Matt.
Just kidding.
Uh,
I don't know if it's been raised yet, children when you're riding your bikes to school. What would happen if something were to happen on school ground in the motorhome? Are that treated like bicycle or whether that possibility, incidents and accidents?
I'm sure, I'm gonna defer to our city administrator, since you're asking about, a little bit of the relationship between school property and city property, and then back to just the law, so.
So I'll start that. A lot of it's education, both at the school, with the administration, and then also with the parents and the students. And so a lot of it's that initial engagement to say, this bike is okay, or this is not a bike, and to help them understand what the limits are. There's always a partnership with the school district because they're responsible for what happens on their campus. And we partner with them in a pretty significant way, especially with our school resource officers, in helping to manage that. But we definitely see challenges there for sure. Yeah.
Let me jump to Maria, sorry, I said Maria earlier, thank you, now I'll go to Matt.
So on the additional bike paths, will you be adding more bike paths?
Yeah. I think typically when we do new construction, she was saying, will we be putting more bike repair stations, right? That's where you see like the pump and a couple of tools that are hanging off the cable.
Yeah.
I would imagine, I don't know that for sure, but I would imagine as we do construction, that would happen.
Yeah,
It's a great suggestion, and part of why we have the assessment and the fair master plan with the public has input.
Yes.
My sense is with Councilmember Hilton, that yes, we would be getting that. Yeah.
In my opinion, let us don't overthink, overregulate this particular situation. Many children ride these things because a need they have, go from home to school or back. There are other people who do leisurely. I see leisure riding done generally in the subdivision in the presence of parents. Okay, so today we have e-bikes, tomorrow they may not be. Okay, technology keep on changing. This is a new thing, just like it came, it may end soon. So other than overthinking, overregulating, spending unnecessary money, let's kind of go with the flow, see what's going on, manage the best we can. That's my opinion.
Well, that's the goal, right? We manage, that's our camp, but nobody wants to see a horrific accident. So here's my experience about 2 months ago. Driving down Fifth Street, two kids, young kids on a scooter together, no helmets. So we know where Fifth Street, T-bones into Miller. Yeah, electric scooter. T-bones into Miller, but it's not a 90-degree angle, it's at an angle. So the kids, came up on Miller, looked right, saw that no car was coming, never looked left, and flew right through Miller. And by 1.5 seconds, they missed being run on. Right, so nobody wants to see that as well, right?
Oh, can I do one upper?
But, oh, okay, yeah. Right?
On Monterey.
Yeah.
Heading north, okay, right at IWF. I see a woman come off IWF with a 2-year-old on a scooter in between her legs, no helmets on either person, riding in the number 1 lane on Monterey, okay? And then quickly cut in front of cars on the Jack in the Box parking lot with a 2-year-old in front on a scooter, not on a bike. Like, the insanity is.
And I talked about this before, at one of our meetings, South County Task Force, where public health is present at those meetings. PD showed a video, I think right by Jack in the Box, of 2 kids on an e-bike together without helmets. T-boned a car on Monterey, and both of them were head over heels and landed on Monterey. And somehow they walked away, right? So, but we don't want, you know, we want people to follow the rules, but we also don't want horrific accidents in our community. That's the fine line of the young, like Matt was saying, there are plenty of kids that are riding their bikes to school on e-bikes and following the rules. Like you said, we don't want to regulate those kids are doing the right thing, but there are plenty who are not. Right, so a couple hands went up.
It doesn't have to just be on the street. About a week and a half ago, I came out of the library, somebody was running down the hall, that, you know, between the columns.
The corridor. Yeah.
Corridor.
Yeah.
On a bike,
Yeah,
right.
the challenge, yeah, the challenge. T, did you ever hit it?
Yeah, I did.
A pretty good speed, yeah.
So let me get this straight, maybe. Start, the chief of police commander. Are they required to wear helmets by law?
Yes.
Okay. What do we do if we see that? I mean, do we call you guys on the non-emergency number?
I mean, I'll always encourage you to, more data is better than no data, right? Your call is better than no call. I just can't promise you that they'll be there, they'll be exactly where they were when you saw them when we get there, or that we get there time to even deal with them.
Okay.
Because it really depends on where they're going, where we're at, how long it takes us to get to where we're going. But yes, I think having more data is always better.
Let's call them in. Okay.
Councilmember,
Yeah, I just want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we've had a couple of joint trainings at different, like at Elliott School and Brownell.
Mhm.
So we've done some work, collaboration with the school district, trying to educate not just students, but the parents as well as to the different types of e-bikes, what is legal, what the requirements are, what the regulations are, safety, all that stuff. So, you know, we did do an awareness campaign back in the springtime, if I remember correctly, so.
I'm gonna jump to Joni, then I want to get some comments from Michelle from the Public Health Department, and I'll go to Ron.
So the other thing is that they need to observe the rules, because just recently I was pulling out from Hannah on the Church Street. And I looked both ways, didn't see nothing, but then came a electric scooter in front of me going in the wrong direction, not going with the traffic, but going against it, I almost care.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing, I don't know, they go to the schools and tell me that are you supposed to ride that on the left side of the road? Because he came that close to me hitting him because I was getting ready to make that.
That's a good comment. I'm gonna go back to the chief, you can comment. So we've talked about pedal assist bicycles, we've talked about e-motorcycles, we shouldn't call them e-bikes, because they're motorcycles.
Yep.
And then I talked about the rules associated with them, and it seems like there are a lot of rules. Because it goes back to, there's already rules for motorcycles and there's already rules for bicycles. But how about the scooters? Where do they fall?
It's the same. I mean, all the rules of the road apply to every type of vehicle, bicycle, scooter, all that's on the road. They gotta follow the same rules of the road. We all do.
Good point. Let me jump to, I'll go to Michelle from the Public Health, Santa Clara Public Health, and we'll jump in back.
Yeah, lots of good conversation today. One resource that I would highly recommend is a book called The Caring Parents E-Bike Survival Guide. This actually talks about all the different things that we're talking about, the types of bikes, what we can do. Because often a parent might go into a store and want to buy their child an e-bike and not really understand what they're purchasing. And the district attorney is now very involved in this because oftentimes this happens online. And oftentimes people are thinking they're buying their child a bike, but they're really purchasing their child an e-motor, right? And the parents then become liable. Like we have cases throughout the state of California, in the Southern California, where some child is on an e-moto, and unfortunately, someone crashes into someone who dies, and then that's the parent who becomes liable. So anyway, there's a lot going on with that. But I think this book has a lot of like everything you're talking about, right? We need to educate, we need to educate the community, we need to educate the kids, we need to educate the parents, so people understand that. We need to understand what people are able to buy, right? Because oftentimes there's not great labeling on the items in e-bike stores. So we have a lot of like integrated things going on with that. Now, Public Health has done a lot of education for our Safe Routes to School program. And then again, we had a lot of big campaign, which is like our Go Where Safely campaign, which we've transition to the city to support in terms of some of that messaging. But there's a lot out there. One thing that we have done that was really interesting is we actually counted bikes at middle schools and high schools and throughout the county. Because we wanted to see like what are people riding to school? What are kids riding? Are they riding e-motors? Are they riding e-bikes? Shocking. We looked at middle school bike racks and we found a lot of e-motos. Well, the child riding the e-moto is you're supposed to be 16 years old. Well, middle school, right? So we have kids who are riding things that they should not be riding to school. There's no sight of a helmet. So there's a lot of things going on. So we're aware. And then the question is, working on addressing it on a regional level. I think every city wants to say, I want to solve this, I want to solve this. And I think our council want to just notice that, yes, state legislation, but thinking about this from a regional perspective, because all of our cities have different laws, it makes it even more confusing. Right now, there's really no webpage that someone can go to get all of the ins and outs of the laws and all the information about the motor. You have to kind of go to a lot of different places to get information. So it is, as the mayor said, we're catching up with the technology that's already out there.
Well, to make it worse for parents, you can go buy a legal class 2 e-bike for your kid, and your kid knows how to hack it in order to become class 3. Okay, and all of a sudden they're riding around on a 40-mile-an-hour class 3, type of situation. Once they can't use class, it's an e-moto at that point.
Yeah, and social media influencers are out there in full force.
Yeah.
And our these ideas of what they do on the remote on the.
Higher torque, better wheelies, and all of that.
Before I jump to the back, as we've discussed, we talked about some near misses in North. Unfortunately, sure you've seen the news, Morgan Hill, not long ago, Hollister, a youth from each community passed away from an accident on a e-bike. So it happens. We don't want it to happen here. We don't want it to happen anywhere in the back.
The school districts have a budget for assemblies and Paul is here. So could you as the mayor suggest to the Gilroy Unified School District to have an assembly about the safety of all of these bicycles? If you had enough manpower from the police to go, because the assemblies in the community, not all those families attended, but here they're at school, they'll be in the audience, they have to hear it. And you could mention, no helmet, they could get pulled over or lose their vehicle. I mean, these kids are gonna be listening. So I think that's the most captive way you can get some of their attention at all.
Excellent idea. And the City of Gilroy and Gilroy PD is prepared at any point in time to participate in something like that at Gilroy Unified. Pass it on to Gilroy Unified, we're ready. at any time. Absolutely, like, you have your hand up at one point and then someone in the back.
So just two comments.
Okay.
One is, because I brought e-bikes up, a while ago, Matt, it might have been prior to you, I'm not sure, about, to your point about, them being on the, levee. And there is signage that says no motorized vehicles, right? So we already have that, as a city code, right? And then, to the public, health comment, this is why, Chief Sanchez is going to be attending the cities association, is we're trying to look at how can we work together on a regional basis to have consistency. So what is going on in Morgan Hill is the same that's going on in Gilroy and San Jose and all that stuff. We're realizing that having a consistent message, having consistent enforcement, having consistency is really going to be.
County park, city park.
Yeah,
So,
very, very important. And that is the topic really,
Right.
this week. And,
And public health will be there as well.
oh,
So,
wonderful.
Yeah, which is great. I'm glad we're all talking together.
That's awesome.
let's see, hand go, oh, Doug, I'm sorry, Doug.
So one of the things you did with your 2020 public health grant is you had high school students prepare materials and then go and teach middle school. I think that's probably gonna reach more people in a useful way than an assembly. That's just my personal opinion. Just for a moment, I'd like to get on e-bikes because I walk around. And one of the things you did in 2024 with your public health grant is you started putting together little pocket cards that were called walkabouts. And there were maps that gave you suggestions about safe routes on foot and on bike towards what they call community hubs. So you've done a couple of things in the past, and I don't know if they're being kept going, if you'll be rolling out this new initiative. But those are two things that just really intrigued me, and I wanted to remind you that you've done them in the past.
Thank you, Doug. I'll ask, Matt, if we can comment a little bit on the safe routes. I don't know, you jumped to Ron, but that's something that we have been talking about.
Yeah, as with many things, they take effort over time to keep them updated. So we have, we have all the files that we need. We just need to get into updating them and making them current, so that they reflect actual situations. They change as, as crossing guards move or as stop signs change or crosswalks get added. All of that affects the maps and their accuracy. So.
And there's something to be said for kids teaching kids, I think, for sure. Right, to do it. Ron.
This might be for the chief. What about the parents? Can the parents be held responsible? Can they be given a ticket or fined or something like that for their child's misbehavior? And that might be probably the most effective way to deal with this issue. If a parent's getting a $50 ticket or $100 ticket or whatever, he or she is gonna kind of say to the kid, let's pick it up,
Yeah, so, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the circumstances, yes, the parents can have some liability. There's a case out of San Diego, I'm familiar with where two children were kind of riding on an e-bike together, pedal assist. And they crashed, their two neighbor friends. And one parent sued the other parent and they lost, and one parent lost, I think they were out $2 million. Awesome. So you have the civil aspect of this, and then you have the criminal aspect of it as well. Yeah. It really depends on the
Very good. Yeah, I think that would probably be the most effective way immediately to get this thing under control. Thanks, Chief.
I know, I'll jump together, I want to give just I know, some of us get nostalgic about, so we say, when I was a kid, right? And I know it's easy, so I'll give you a perspective. When I was a kid, my brother and I were riding down Miller. I was riding on the handlebars, he was driving me, we got pulled over, we got a ticket for riding incorrectly, and the bike wasn't licensed. And we had to get the bike license or else, they're gonna be watching us, had to go down to the police department, get signed off, and so sometimes we're nostalgic, why can't we have that? Right? Well, it's just, unfortunately, it's a different time, our resources are different, but I know you've talked about.
I've got my moped towed for loud exhaust in
Yeah.
LA. Okay, so.
Right, so, but sometimes we want that, right? We want that as adult, we want that, do to them what he did to us, but not so easy, in the back, and then I'll go back.
I don't know if you have enough officers, but,
No.
each day, one officer could be stationed all throughout the day in different locations that you hear about that have trouble, and just quietly wait, because when someone calls, you're not gonna get there in time, and we have some obvious crossroads that are problems. And if you could start, reaching these youth or whoever's riding these bikes, it might make a difference.
It would make a difference.
One a day, that their role would be to go all around town and wait under a tree, do their job,
It would make a difference. Rebecca, and then Maria, then Alex.
In terms of finding the parents, if somebody gets pulled over and child gets pulled over, they get a warning, what do they get?
The child or the parent?
Or both?
And they both could, depending on the situation and circumstance. The child, again, depending on what the scenario is, could get a ticket. And then depending on, again, the situation, the parent can also get a ticket as well. It really just depends on the circumstances, the totality of them.
And if you impound them with the proper showing, then they have to actually, I'm thinking about why they, of course, don't want violation. There's an income fee, those add up. Let's talk about that. That can be a huge cost. That could be, it's why they don't want it. Might be cheaper to go buy a new one.
Well, no, they actually, the ones who've had, they pay the bill, tell us to keep it.
Yeah, it's the punishment aspect of it, that they're frustrated with their kids, so they say, you know what, I'm gonna pay that, and they don't get it back, and that's their lesson.
Alex had his hand up. So.
Oh, this is your favorite part where I can say that I need to leave.
Without saying the word yet?
However,
Awesome.
the reason why I came today was twofold. I'm concerned about having the Caesar side. Caesar shot is this photo on our Paseo downtown cover. See about getting that removed. And also, I'm under the impression, and I've been told personally by one of the candidates, that they were told to remove their signs from Old City Hall downtown because it's a city property, even though it's being used by private people. And I think that it's not right. If it is right, you should not have your signs down there.
I'm not sure what the concern is. I think you're saying the sign should have been there?
I think it's because of the time,
No,
not supposed to be out yet.
no, it's in the right of way. This is the way I understand it. Help. The right of way, between, is where you cannot have signs. Correct, in the right of way. Right, so let's just say, what is the right of way? That would be like a park strip between the curb and the sidewalk. That's city property. That's a good example of a right of way. But sometimes back of sidewalk is still city right of way. In this particular case, because it's Old City Hall, the right of way goes to the edge of the building. So in that particular case, I believe the candidate and the property, people leasing the property said you can't have it in the right of way. Want to put it in the window? Go ahead. Does that answer the question?
It needs to be succinctly clear to
Sure.
the property.
Yeah.
The lease on.
Yeah, because it'll happen. No.
So, this is how it is up for the sale,
Yeah.
and
Got
I
it.
think very much.
Thank you, Alex.
And they're not supposed to be out this early. There's a
30 day.
30 days before the election when you can start putting on signs.
Well, thank you. Thank you, guys. What else? Yes, ma'am. That's okay.
I don't know, two blocks more, first. If that whole is not, we will, it was actually really extended, and it's easy to go away. The other things that have put out there are lines right across First Street, the lines have been newly painted in the last several years, and there are bicycle logos in the lanes. And, on Church Street on that north side, there's just lines, and people leave the trash cans on there all the. We bring the kids from, yes, the high school kids that are attending their school for some stores. Lots of kids riding the bikes at the, even if you're in Sunday school, but even regular. And,
there are few people, you know, to do it, and I think just to repaint the lanes and put those people there. I think, on people's trash notes that says, move your trash cans as soon as you can. I mean, I know people who are working, I understand that, but with all the trash cans on our blocks, kids are all walking. Everybody St. Mary's, everybody at the middle, and the middle school, and
So if I hear the comment correctly, you're wondering, first of all, is it okay, legal, what's the word here, Mr. Matt? Can garbage cans be placed in bike lanes?
They're not supposed to be. At some point, you don't have a choice,
Yeah.
right? This is one of those things where the grassroots, the conversations with your neighbors are the most effective way, right? Chat with your neighbor, make them aware of the situation and the challenge, and spread the word that way.
I'm excluded that.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
So everyone got that comment. So in some neighborhoods, bike lanes are differently spaced, or in some neighborhoods, there are no bike lanes, but in your neighborhood, there's a bike lane in a residential. And people are putting their garbage cans in the bike lane, which is a conflict once a week, every week, right? A conflict for people biking. So that's something that could be, go ahead, Bill.
But the trash cans are supposed to be in the street, not up on the curb.
Correct. Yeah, very difficult for them to pick it up, even if it's against the curb, if there's a lot of cars. And that's what happens, people push them out, probably as a convenience to the driver, but now they're in the bike, that's a challenge, yeah.
I could change the subject.
Yeah.
I'd like some information about ADUs, because obviously we're a low-income community. All our surrounding communities have what they call retro permitting.
Yeah.
So if you already have an ADU and it's never been certified, you can call for a retro permit, that's allowed. City of San Jose, Santa Cruz, every surrounding city has they've gone by Jerry Brown's rules that he set up many years ago. The city of Gilroy, all of a sudden I find out they have a cap on the number of ADUs that they have. We have all these rules that other cities don't have.
So let me, I got it, I think I got your question. So she's asking about ADUs, right? And the state of California has implemented new rules that are associated with ADUs. ADU is an accessory dwelling unit that you might already have on your property, or you might want to build on your property. And there have been state laws that have requested cities to make some changes on how they do ADUs and how long it takes. So I'm gonna take my best shot at this, and I'll take some help from those who really know about it. The city of Gilroy does have a very progressive ADU.
But we have a cap.
Or,
I wonder where.
okay, I'll let Matt help with the cap, but you did, because you mentioned a few things at once. There are plenty of people in older neighborhoods like yours, like mine, we live very close to each other, that have existing ADUs from 50 years ago that were never permitted. And there is a program at City of Gilroy, I believe it's a state law now, that you are allowed to bring that ADU into the City of Gilroy.
And I inquired 30 years ago for many reasons, and I don't have one.
Okay, then I'll jump to the city administrator, because we do have a program that allows for
It's not that retro.
it. Okay, so let's ask.
So the laws and the regulations, as the mayor said, are evolving, and we're keeping up, and we're very supportive, I think, of ADUs. I don't know where we stand as in relation to the number of allowable ADUs. I don't suspect that we're anywhere near it. But happy to look at that. And then there's so many specifics with individual cases that it's hard to talk in generalities. Always happy to meet with you and talk about your individual situation and what the challenges are that you face. Yeah.
But I have friends nearby that have been told, oh, we reached the max, you know, the cap is gonna reach, so you can't go any further. The approach is about an ADU. And I was told personally by the city several years ago, no, we do not have retro. Even Morgantown has it, but we don't.
To be, a lot has changed in 3 years. I mean,
Yeah.
a ton has changed regarding ADUs in the state. To the extent that where people who live, for instance, in Eagle Ridge might think that you can't just go build because the CCNR is in Eagle Ridge. Yeah, but now you can't even limit them with HOAs anymore in the state. That's how much state has changed the game plan on this. And in the city, where it used to have to go through many different layers of review of the city, it's now become ministerial. And then even beyond that, there are pre-approved plans and pre-approved models where it doesn't even have to go through that much. It's literally rubber stamp right at the city. So this, as Matt has said, it's evolving extensively, and the rules, I think, on some of it would surprise people in terms of if you don't have enough room in your backyard, well, you can actually negate all your setbacks in the front yard and set an ADU almost to the sidewalk. So, I mean, it is, if you go read this
Judy,
stuff.
Judy, let me comment. I don't, anybody at the city of Gilroy or who follows ADU construction in Gilroy, I don't think anybody would agree with the fact that has been not a lot of ADU construction in Gilroy. There's been a lot of ADU construction in Gilroy. Am I okay with that? Okay, yeah, there has been a lot of ADU.
For you.
We're not, I don't think there's a cap. So I think that conversation should be with the city administrator. Yeah.
According to the number that they were that.
I think that should be more of a one-on-one conversation. I don't think that exists, Judy. Did you ever hand it, Mike?
I did not.
Oh, you built? You're a builder? Yeah. Design, okay. But you're doing that work.
There's any cap.
All right, coming from the private sector, thank you. Justin, huh?
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I kind of want to get back to e-bikes real quick.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, please take a walk with me here. I work in education. I talk with a lot of, teenagers and young adults who cannot afford a car. You know, there's smog and registration, ever raising gas prices, a car payment, insurance. Like, these are cost prohibitive things for a lot of communities. So an e-bike is environmentally and financially a great way for them to get around, not just to school, but to their jobs. A lot of them have jobs and have work permits and, you know, need to not only support themselves, but their families. And, you know, I think that what a lot of people have said about personal responsibility is true. It comes down to, you know, whether or not they are obeying the law. But we're also talking about people whose frontal lobes aren't fully developed. And I think that regulating children's behavior, especially as they continue to push boundaries intrinsically as part of their nature, is always kind of going to be an uphill battle. So I'd be more interested to see, and if this is outside the scope of, you know, this body, that's one thing, but I'd be more interested to see legislation targeting regulation of people who manufacture and sell these bikes and how they misrepresented the specs of these bikes in order to sell the products, because they are profiting off of these parents who don't really understand the full capabilities of these bikes. So I'm more interested in, instead of us trying to regulate, you know, children who again are always going to push boundaries, they're always going to chase, you know, excitement. I'd be more interested to see us putting the onus on the people who are profiting from these misunderstandings and from these dangerous situations. Is
Great comment.
possible?
Great comment. Great comment. I'm gonna go to, Councilmember Ramirez, and then I'll go to Elizabeth. But I think this is something that's happening at the regional level. This is what they're trying to do at that level.
And they're also doing this at the state level. They're requiring, you know, legislation is coming through requiring, you know, the labeling, and, you know, you cannot call this an e-bike. Again, you know, to Councilman Fugazi's comment, you know, what is sold as something might then be modified once it is sold, but the labeling so that when parents do go to purchase an e-bike, it is truly an e-bike level 1, level 2, level 3, and the requirements are all they're very laid out so that a consumer will know what they really are buying. So
I
that
like
is,
the idea
that
of
is
passing the
happening.
burden to everybody, including the people manufacturing.
Yeah.
Elizabeth?
So I have a question for the chief and for you. With the outreach to the kids at the schools, like on both ends, have you guys seen that being impactful? And then with what she was saying about the modifications, does that then make it where you guys can go after the kid and the parents more? Because it's illegal to modify a car, right?
Yeah, so the first part, we've tried to do a lot of outreach. We've done 2 that I know for sure. Wasn't really well attended, at least the one that I attended. I think we're always ready and prepared to do more. But I think the schools have to also want to do more. The second part of your question is yes, but it depends on whether or not we can inspect the bike and we can determine it's modified. That's sometimes a little harder to figure out, depending on how it's modified. But yes, short answer is best.
Some agencies actually, because I've researched a lot of this, they actually appear in their police department. That's available in their SWAT cars or whatever, so that they can set the e-bike on. Turn it on, spin it, see what the top speed is on the e-bike to then be able to classify in the moment. Whether or not it's a type 1, type 2, or type 3. So these are some of the things that are evolving with police departments across. the
So
state.
would that show them like it's been modified?
Well, yes and no, I mean, it just
Because
it
if,
really
like,
doesn't
it's like
matter
what
if
she
that.
was saying, if it's bought as one thing and then modified,
doesn't
like,
really
does
matter
that
at that
create a
point.
whole nother
All they're
level?
looking at is whether or not
Yeah.
it's exceeding a certain speed, which automatically puts it into a different class. How they got there doesn't really matter, but your point is very valid in that if you need to go to school or you need to go to work and you're 16 years old and you want to ride an e-moto, you can go to DMV, you can get a motorcycle endorsement. There's all kinds of things that you can do to be legal in order to do this, as I found out personally, myself, the hard way, many years ago.
This reminds me of years ago, right, our generation also, remember, the motorcycles, the quads? Remember before the quads, there was
Yeah, three-wheeler,
tries,
yeah.
and so many people were getting injured on the three-wheel. Remember those three-wheel motorcycles, is they finally got legislated out. And because there's so many, and you couldn't buy them, after about 5 to 10 years, you can no longer buy them, you can buy a quad, because they're somewhat safer than a three-wheel vehicle, but this is kind of where we're at that phase right now, we have all these new products just getting pumped out by people who profit from them, for the consumers, and then we're left as policymakers and enforcement to catch up. I love your ideas about that. Greg?
Yeah, we talk about how, the kids they're so involved with their electronics, so. It's, the fact that they're actually putting their phones down and getting outside is a step in the right direction. I would like to see them do it properly, yes. The fact that they're out there is that's what I like to see, that's what I like to see. I want the kids to get out there. Yes, we want to do it responsibly. And so, if there's someone who can make it easier, again, get them educated, putting this responsibility on them and making it tough for them. When I see kids out there having fun, that's what I want to see. I like what we did, that's what we're talking old school. And when I'm in old school, they're out there. Yeah, you're gonna see kids, he wasn't watching us, so yeah. When you're driving and you see there's kids out there, they're come their buddies are hanging out.
I know, Greg, I don't think anyone disagrees, we want our kids to have fun, we want them to learn, but we also have a responsibility, he has a responsibility to meet the needs of people like Rebecca, who also feel unsafe on the city levies because people are riding inappropriately. There's a balance to be struck.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, I like the old school, I like the pedaling, once they put that e-bike stuff in there, that's not.
But that's not us, right?
Yeah,
We have to deal with it.
That's my thing, but yeah, but the idea of making it, getting the kids out there is. Let's do what we can to get the kids
Of
out.
course. So Matt, help me, let's just pivot a little bit to, sorry, I'm so sorry.
As we listen to our conversation, is it not ironic? We complain about the cost of government. Yet the very things that we're talking about here are driving up the cost. And when it gets to the bottom line, parents are responsible for their children. That's where the focus should be, and they should be held accountable. Until that happens, I mean, how many police officers do we have to monitor this? It's crazy, so it doesn't make sense to me.
Great comment. I was gonna ask Matt, as we get towards the end, about public input, since we are talking about bikes and things and trails.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the trail master plan that's coming down?
Yeah.
Coming down the line, and public input will be.
I'll start first with our recreation efforts that we're doing right now. So public input is desired from all of you through our website on our recreation services, what we provide and what we should be providing in the future, whether it be parks or senior services or youth recreation services. We're in that public input mode. We're trying to get as much information as we can. So if you go to our website, it's right there, ECSC, click on that, provide input. And then very soon we will be releasing hopefully a Parks and Trails Master Plan update where we want to update. We looked at our parks and trails in 2005 the last time, putting together a plan for what that would look like in the future. If you compare that plan with what we have today, we've done a pretty darn good job of building that out. So we want to take that to the vision for the next 20 years and identify what that looks like. And we need resident input to make that happen, to identify where we need trails, do the trails look like, what do the parks look like, where are there gaps, all of that good stuff. So we'll be listening soon for opportunities to provide input on that one as well.
Ron?
Yes. In regards to ADUs, I had a chat with Morgan Hills Mayor Mark Turner, who's a very good friend, and he's done a lot of stuff over the years for us, helping our city too, especially at Lapco. But he complained to me one time about parking. He says one of his biggest problems in Morgan Hill is parking. And I'm sure we're getting that too, but these ADUs do cause a problem with parking. And it seems to me that that's something we need to focus on. I don't think with all the laws that we have now in California, that's a problem with every city too, because we can't go against their parking regulations. So again, that is something that if we don't do something about that or focus on that somehow, some way, we're going to have that same problem in Gilroy.
So parking and when it comes to ADUs and development, hold on, parking, because I think Mike got his hand up too. Parking, and there's this famous word we talked about it a month ago or so, or 2 months, vehicles, miles traveled, all that gets the connection with our development and things like that. And that's a whole meeting, so I do want to move away slightly. I'm gonna go to Mike, and I'm gonna try to wrap it up.
Real quick, in terms of ADUs, it comes from the state.
Yeah.
The cities are kind of hamstrung about that. I design homes. But the issue thing is a problem. You mentioned parking, mentioned how many we can have on a lot. Somebody mentioned we get a front setback. City of Saratoga, and that comes from Saratoga, has a map, hallway. And they said why Saratoga was created and that rural feeling and everything. ADUs taken over, they're all over the place in Saratoga.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are fighting against it, but unfortunately, and I'm taking work away from me, unfortunately, the state regulates this.
Yeah.
And the cities are kind of hamstrung.
So there's a balance to be struck. Let me leave it at this. We can go, this is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
There's a balance to be struck, and I'm gonna give you a personal experience, right? I live in a 95-year-old house, and somebody in the 50s put up an ADU. We moved in, we remodeled it, right? And look at the world that we live in today about affordability, right? Who lives in my ADU? My 24-year-old daughter and married to her husband, who's in the sheriff's academy, just getting started out in life. This works well for our family. And getting back to what we said about personal responsibility, we don't have parking issues in our neighborhood. It's because our neighbors are out chatting with each other. But we have, across the street, I have my neighbor and their daughter lives in their ADU with their young child. Where are they gonna live? Right? So there's a balance to be struck.
There's a balance somewhere.
What's that? I guess where they're gonna live in my house.
That's my case.
Judy, let's get with Judy's comment and we'll end it. Yeah.
You know, because our house is very congested.
Yeah.
And I wanted to maybe add a carport to that,
Yeah.
and I called the city,
Yeah.
and I talked to, Julie.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, no, you have to go to community development to get the permission, because that's such a crowded alley. I said, everybody up and down the alley has, and I don't tell her around all again, because it was just done in the last 5 years. Went to the area, and she said, I don't see those carports. I said, come and walk it. I went and took pictures. So now they want to regulate to me, and I'm not even planning on doing it. They just advise me that it's possible. Now, who's sitting there saying, okay, so everybody up and down the alley, there's all this additional parking, and they all park in front of my house, okay, yeah, that, it's public property. But all these people up and down the alley have all this additional parking. I have to go to community development, when I had parking.
So the challenge, as you were saying, the challenges that exist in public property out in the street exist in the alleys, you're right. So let's end it at that. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, everybody.